Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hey, we're taking another look, of course, here at Ethereum Classic. This is a big request from not only my community members, but just regular traders, whom are obviously subscribers like yourself. So, we're just going to take a look at best practice and big picture, help you understand the whole 9 yards here. And if you are new to the channel, please understand I'm not a financial advisor. I do just love teaching people to trade, however. And I have a website where you can go ahead and register to become part of my community. I send out trade signals for every trade that I take. So you can follow along if you'd like. There's an automatic trading option there, as well as the fact that I have a trading university too, teaching you everything that I know. So awesome stuff there in that regard. Be sure to check that out. Furthermore too, we've got a tremendous amount of signals and results lately. I mean, like this Ethereum, after 16 days, we took 175% profit. I think that was worth the wait. Wouldn't you agree? Again, there's so many different options here, but we're just taking some healthy profits, and it's just fantastic. And 20 days for 81% for Bitcoin. Okay, and again, I'm not saying you're just going to turn around and make a ton of cash with this, but I prefer to swing trade a little bit more so than day trade. So I just have a specific bear market strategy that we have in place. It's really awesome. Last thing too, also to note as well, is just some awesome trades from some of my community members. I mean, Blessed Acres is fantastic. This guy's really awesome, and Philly is starting to kick it up again as well. So I just really love seeing what you guys can do. You're really awesome and amazing, and I love the fact that you're trying to qualify for some extra benefits here for the prize pool through Bitget. So if you are new to the channel, please make sure you use the link in the description below. If you're in the United States and you want to register for this, you can. You just choose other as a country. And essentially what that allows you to do is use leverage in the United States. You have a $10,000 prize pool, whereas part of it's based on trading volume, the other is profit and loss ratio. And there's just a lot of benefit here. So Bitget is by far my favorite exchange. Be sure to use that in your own time. I think it would be recommended for you to consider using that if you want. An exchange that has very fast liquidity there. Like you can get in and out of your trades quickly. The fee structure is the lowest in the market, and it's just generally a pleasure to work with. So check that out. All right, so here's where we're at with Ethereum. What we want to do is kind of establish some previous support and resistance levels. I have a support and resistance line here from before. We'll just go ahead and draw that out. Extend that, and we want to go ahead and get our Fibonacci retracements as well, kind of get that pulled up too. And I get the question a lot, like, what time frame is best for Fibonacci retracement? Well, in truth, the larger the time frame, the better. And oftentimes when you go with a very most recent high with a most recent low, like those extremes, you're going to be better off too, because it'll provide you with like very specific support and resistance levels. As we can see here, this is fairly legitimate because there was a strong support level here at about the 0.236 area, which is a common retracement level for Fibonacci, and that is at $26.53. So we're right at $26 right now. Coincidentally, we may see a rejection there at that point. In other words, it might be at best to anticipate some resistance at that level. Okay. Again, that's just basically the concept of how Fibonacci retracement levels work. They help you understand key level supports and resistances based on previous data. Okay. So good news is we're above this most recent relevant, you could say resistance level. And the reason why it's easy to identify that it was a resistance is you can see the price had trouble breaking that plane for a good 5 or 6 out of the last 10 trading days. So now that we broke above, and the price came down to kind of bounce off that area, you can anticipate right there at $24. In fact, $24 even is essentially a support level. So we may be range bound between $24 and $26.50. That might be the range that we're going to be looking within. Again, we could also see a green candle tomorrow. That could give us our third white soldier to essentially allow for a red day to follow. There's a lot of different patterns and candlesticks we can look for, but generally speaking, Ethereum Classic is doing well in the sense that it's broken through a resistance, an immediate resistance. It now has to break through this other prior resistance level, or support rather, at $26.54 to be exact. All right, so let's take a look at some other things here. This is something that's also uncommon for a lot of coins in that it's broken above 50 on the RSI. That's a very, very impactful thing. I love to see that. That gives me confidence as a swing trader to essentially be able to take a longer position being above that level. Because if you look in its history, just say in general, every time it's broken above 50 on the RSI, it's done fairly well for itself. Okay, again, pretty strong break, of course, that previous one was, but generally speaking, that's the concept. When you're above 50 on the RSI, you're going to see some bullish behavior, okay? So again, there's correlations, you could say. So the likelihood of Ethereum Classic breaking out to the upside moving forward, I think, is fairly high. The question is, how much further will it pull back if it were to? Because of the fact that we got rejected off that resistance level, and also Bitcoin is pulling back a little bit too. So again, keep in mind Bitcoin struggles. Ethereum Classic could very well do the same. But I do think this is a coin that's worth watching and paying attention to. If we see a little bit further of a pullback, I think we might have a decent opportunity to take a long. MACD is converging for the last 5 or 6 days. That's no surprise. And of course, to take a quick look at the moving averages, we're above the 20, but we're soon to approach the 200. So in all reality, the 200 being below the 50 is never a great sign. That's what is referred to commonly as a death cross. I don't put a tremendous amount of weight into that because convergences and divergences occur at different times. There's a lot of things that factor in. You never want to just use a MACD convergence, for example, as a primary reason to take an entry. But in this example here, we can see the price action is doing fairly well for itself, and the fact that we're coming up to that resistance level, it just reiterates the fact that we'll probably see a little bit more consolidation at the area of $26.45, or between 24 and 26.5 essentially. Okay, that's what I'm guessing here we're going to see. So we should expect some sideways action. I wouldn't anticipate a breakout to the upside immediately. It is possible, but it's not recommended. Right? It's not like I'm here telling Ethereum Classic what to do, but on the same accord, if it were to do that, we'd see a stronger pullback, and that wouldn't be what we want. We want a healthy continuation pattern with a nice staircase up and over. I'll explain what I mean by that on smaller time frames, but those are things I like to look for. 4 hour. All right, so we can see this potential short squeeze here where the price just shot up there above the previous resistance level, and of course the price action continued higher. The exact same thing happened with Bitcoin, by the way. We had a short squeeze at 19,800, and it hasn't looked back since. So that being said, is this a healthy continuation or not? Well, let's go ahead and see. We are getting some resets. We got enough consolidation here to warrant a continuation to the upside. Therefore, we shouldn't expect the price to pull back immediately because we have this nice little pennant type of pattern that's allowed for it to continue to essentially consolidate at that area. Okay, so if we didn't have consolidation, without consolidation, you cannot have increases that are going to continue to hold. Okay, so for example here, if this didn't continue to go sideways before it legged up, and it just went straight up from there, we would have seen a stronger pullback, and the price would have continued lower because there's no established battleground between the bulls and the bears. Right? You got to understand there's constantly a push and a pull between both sides. And at this point, the bears are conceding, they're letting the price action go higher, and that's just essentially where we're at. Okay? Mostly positive, but in that sense, I would also argue the fact that this is not a fantastic sign. I do not like to see, super large, short 4-hour candles. So in this 8 hours here, we saw a very strong push to the upside. We'll take a look at the 1 hour to see if that's any concern, but at this point, we are retesting consistently the 70 and the RSI. So that tells me that we're getting a little bit on the exhaustive side, and we would like to see a pullback. So I'm going to probably set an alert right around the 25? I'll take a look at it at $25 and go ahead and see kind of what that looks like later and reevaluate. Because if we can consolidate at 25, perhaps the price pulls down to 24. We do 2 entries for along to the upside. As long as we have that confirmation above 24, I think we're in good shape. Again, Bitcoin is the same thing right now too. If we pull back to 20,500, we'll see a pullback from some alts, and they'll come down to these levels here, and then they'll likely bounce to the upside because we have this very strong support level at 20,500 for Bitcoin. If you're curious about what I'm talking about, I made a Bitcoin video this morning. I do that every single day, and you can kind of see what that looks like for yourself. All right. So that being said, the 4 hour looks pretty decent here. We're not extremely overextended, but we are sort of on the RSI. MACD is starting to lose its momentum, so it's kind of plateauing a little bit. So to me, I would recommend waiting for a pullback before taking entry, but absolutely keep your eye on this one here because if we do get a pullback, I think it might be a juicy target. Let's take a look at the 1 hour and kind of see where we're at. For TD sequential, we can see that we came up to a 9. Big surprise, got a pullback, consolidation effort up to another 9, and then again another leg up. So with us having 2 9s in a row here, that does concern me as well, that a pullback would make sense. So I'm not saying you should necessarily short Ethereum Classic, but I do think that we're more likely to see the price come back down a little further before it goes up again. And that's again what I like to look for. I like to buy the dips essentially when they dip correctly off of a key level resistance at an over-exhaustive state. Okay, so it's kind of what we should look for here on Ethereum Classic. Taking a look at Ichimoku Cloud, we can see that we are all green lights in this regard. However, the lagging span has soon intersected the price action, commonly signaling a trim of your position and or a closure of your position. Again, this is a very conservative indicator, and I get the question a lot too. Why do you use the default settings for cryptocurrency? Because this is made specifically for foreign exchange or regular markets. And my answer to that is it helps you provide a much more conservative outlook. So why adjust those figures? While it is true that Bitcoin or just cryptocurrency is more volatile in general, this doesn't necessarily bode well in the sense that it's telling us that we are soon to want to maybe close that position. So to me, just say this was, you adjusted that and it's moving more concurrent with Bitcoin and or just say cryptocurrency. You're giving yourself some false positives, and in this case, it's extremely conservative, and that's where I like to stand. I'm not a risky trader by any stretch. I'll admit you have to take risks in order to get rewards. There's no doubt about that. But if you just kind of play a hunch and you go off a feeling and not the technical data, you're doing it wrong. Again, that's just my personal opinion because these things have saved my butt over the years, and I really do appreciate them. So right now, at this point, Ethereum Classic has one of three signs telling us that, hey, you may want to consider trimming your position because that momentum to the upside is starting to dissipate. Furthermore, we can kind of see, just easy to identify, we're outside the standard deviation lines. We take a look here, we can see that the most recent price action is trying but keeps getting rejected by the upper lead, but that we had enough volume in the past here to warrant this increase. Okay, now that the volume is starting to dissipate a little bit, you can see that contraction, and the price action is still remaining above the volume weighted average price. So again, to me, when I see stuff like this, I try to take a step back and look at the big picture and understand, hey, we're coming up to a resistance level we got rejected. We have a previous support level that's broken through with a nice tight short squeeze, and the likelihood of us hitting that area is fairly high. I think it's more likely to pull back than it would be to continue to increase. Again, not that I don't want it to continue, it's just that it wouldn't make a lot of sense if it were to right now. Right? Again, technical data is telling us a different story. So anyways, those are the things I like to look at and hopefully help you understand. So I hope that this was informative and you learned something here today. Again, you want to become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech is a website, of course. If you want to partner with Bitget as well, I have the link in the description below. Highly recommend you using their exchange. It's a phenomenal exchange. My favorite by far. And if you want to be part of this prize pool, you'd be automatically eligible just by registering. Be sure to check that out in your own time. I hope that you had a great learning experience here. Look forward to working with you again in the future. Have yourself a great rest of your day.